Every time this wrench set is featured on this channel through a toolbox tour, every time I get comments that flood in that say this wrench set is overpriced, overhyped, and they don't bring the value to the table that they should for the price. This is the Snap-on 38-piece Flank Drive Plus wrench set. Has wrenches in SAE, inch and 5/16 all the way up to quarter, metric 25 all the way down to 7. And the Flank Drive Plus is on all the wrenches. Very nice feature. Snap-on's secret sauce there. These also have the foam that they come in. Comes in a bunch of different colors. This one's green, obviously. If somebody off the street came up to me and said, hey, I'm looking for the best wrench set on the market today, money's no object, I would say this is what you're looking for. This is one of the most comprehensive kits, and Snap-on makes the best wrench sets on the market. This is the set you're looking for. If somebody came up to me and said, hey, I'm a very value-oriented person, I'm looking for a wrench set that will give me the best bang for my buck, I would have a hard time offering them this wrench set as a recommendation. Main reason, this set comes in at over $2,800 new. After taxes, you're looking at around $3,000 for this wrench set, which to me sounds crazy. But I'm going to let you guys be the judge. For me to say something has value, somebody else may say it doesn't have that much value. And so I'm going to give you guys kind of a visual representation of the value that these should offer. So I'm going to show you what tools you could buy if you decided to pass on this wrench set. Now, $2,800 in tools is going to be a blast to go through. If you don't buy that set though, you're going to need a set of wrenches to go along with your tool set. And this is the set that I would recommend. This is the GearWrench 81919 set. I've recommended this set several times. It's got 44 pieces, so it's more comprehensive than that Snap-on set. SAE and metric. This set does have its own kind of opening Flank Drive Plus type grip. Now, it's not as aggressive as the Snap-on, but it does work. These wrenches have been reefed on, and I've used them professionally over my career, and they've held up really, really well. For the money, you cannot beat this set. I'm telling you, these are awesome wrenches. They're less than 10% the cost of that set. So based on my experience wrenching with these for several years, this is an awesome, awesome set. So I'd recommend this 100%. I'm really excited. This is a lot of money to spend. Let's throw a couple ratchets into the mix. These are fairly new to me. I haven't had these very long. They're part of the 120 XP family from GearWrench. They have a flex head that's lockable with this new locking style right here. You just push the button and it locks. And also when you unlock it, it acts as a detent on the inside, which I think is pretty cool. I love these ratchets. I have this 3/8 inch one as well. Also fantastic ratchet. Same deal, locking head. Also, since we're here, we'll just throw these into the mix. These are the ones I always recommend. The 4-piece 120 XP ratchet set comes with 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch, 3/8, and then the 3/8 stubby, which is really cool. And while we're at it, we have a couple more ratchets. These are actually made by Tone or Tone. These are made in Japan. And my brother-in-law actually bought these for me recently, and look how tiny the heads are, and these are 3/8 inch drive. Nice high tooth count. These have the quick release on the back to get the sockets off really easily. Fantastic ratchets. I can't wait to use these more, but I wanted to add these to the pile because I think there's something that other people might like to see. Like, look how tiny the head is. You can fit these in anywhere, so add these in. I'm a huge sucker for Milwaukee stuff, so let's throw in a few Milwaukee tools while we're at it. This is the 1/2 inch Milwaukee gun, high torque. I think this is actually the version prior to the one that they have now. And I do have a couple ratchets here. I prefer 1/4 inch. Same thing with Danny. We just did a toolbox tour with him, and he also said that he likes the 1/4 inch. Honestly, if I'm going for anything that requires a little more torque, that you'd want a 3/8 inch drive, I'm just grabbing my Impact. Typically, I use these for things that have like a ton of bolts, like timing belt, or just anything that has low torque with a ton of bolts. I'm using these. This is the long neck Milwaukee, same thing, but short. And these two are huge time savers. If you don't use electric ratchets or air ratchets, get into them because they save you a ton of time. Huge money makers. Also, this is the 1/4 inch drive hex adapter, M18 driver. Fantastic. I'm going to throw this in with the set. Next up is this power steering pulley puller by OTC. Now, this is the one I would recommend if you're looking for something that takes off power steering pump pulleys. And this I use the crap out of. The only thing that I ever had to warranty out of this set is this little guy here. Now, this guy is the thrust bearing on the actual puller itself. So this is actually what pushes the pump on or off. And so this, I did have warranty, but it was no problem. I mean, they just sent me a new one, and I was good to go. So that one's nice and fresh. Definitely recommend this set if you're looking for something that pulls the pulleys off of the pumps themselves. great. This is a borescope. I bought this not too long ago as well. It's by a company called Nice Green, and it's a fairly cheap Amazon branded borescope. But borescopes have come such a long way that even if you get a cheaper version like this, it's still fantastic compared to what we had like even 5 years ago. 1080p screen, has an internal battery and a really long lead for your camera. And this lead is not like floppy like some of them, like you just have to like fish in with your hands. This one's actually stiff, so you can form it however you want. It's got decent resolution for you know, a cheaper unit. Like I'm just shining it at this little, you know, dial. But yeah, for the money, can't go wrong with it. It has a couple attachments. One's like a magnet that if you see something that you can grab with the magnet, you can screw the attachments on the end here, and it actually has 2 cameras. So there's one at the end with LEDs on it, and then there's also one on the side with LEDs on it. So you have a 90-degree camera, front camera, and then you put those attachments on. We can look at some lights. These are the ones, at least some of them, that I would recommend. First up, this Bauer. This is one, I think they're like 20 bucks over at Harbor Freight. Awesome. They swivel back and forth, and they're magnetic on the base. You guys have seen this many times, but these are so bright. I mean, they've got 3 different settings, and the charge lasts quite a while. This is an Astrolight that I bought. I don't know. I bought this quite a while ago, and it's a fantastic light. But I think they've upgraded it since. I think they have a slightly brighter LED, and I think the battery lasts a little bit longer now. But it's really skinny, and it can fit into runners and stuff like that. And it has a swivel base for the magnet, which is really nice. Definitely recommend this. And then lastly, I have this, which you guys have seen before as well. You know, you have the light on the front, and then if you want to turn it off, you can turn on the hands-free mode, which like just turns it on and off really fast, like but yeah. These 2 sets are made by Lyle. This first set is a fan clutch service kit. If you haven't used this before, this takes all of the work out of taking a fan clutch off. Basically, you just hook this end up to your air hammer, and then you use these wrenches to hook up to, you know, the water pump, whatever size. One thing, and I've mentioned this before, is I've always used this wrong, and I feel like an idiot, but if this helps somebody, I'm glad I'm gonna say this. When you put this onto the water pump, sometimes you would think that this just goes in here and then you hit it with your air hammer, right? To jar it loose. That's not how this works. You're supposed to put it this way. And then you're supposed to put this all the way around it. That way when you hit it, it's not gonna fall off. I got so pissed off with this when I would put this on here and I'd hit it and then this thing would just like fly off. Oh, it makes me so angry. But now, and this other set is just an inner tie rod removal tool. You know, most of you guys have seen this, but if you haven't, it's just a tool for removing inner tie rods. There's a bunch of different sizes depending on the size of your inner tie rod. But basically, you have this long tube, right? And this goes over the inner tie rod. And this will go right up to the flat spots on the inner tie rod. Use a regular wrench or ratchet to take off the inner tie rod. Never use an impact. I found that out. It wasn't me, thankfully, but I saw somebody else use an impact and it just like shattered this rear end here. Don't use an impact on it. Next up is another OTC tool, and this is actually a front end service kit. If you haven't seen these before, basically you use these to remove joints like ball joints or tie rods that are inside of the knuckle. An arm puller, tie rod end remover. Honestly, all of these have been well used, and this set has really come in handy. And stuff like this is really important to have a lifetime warranty on, because this is the stuff that's really going to take a beating. I think I've shattered this at least 3 times, this puller here, because you're just sitting there wailing on it with like an impact. You hit it with your hammer a few times to get it to break loose finally. But solid set. This has done nothing but make me money, and I would definitely recommend this kit. This is a tool I don't see too often. Basically, it's a hub press tool. So it's something that goes onto the hub. All right, so you basically have this this big, it's like a puller, right? So you put these onto where the lug nuts are on the hub, and these, you can move these arms around. But basically, if you ever have a really stuck CV axle that's stuck into the actual bearing or the hub assembly, this can go in and force. It has a huge forcing screw, super powerful. You can use an impact. I have always used an impact on the end, or you can use this little doohickey to put on here to force it down. Fantastic. When you have one of those CV axles, you're just pounding and pounding and pounding on it, and it's not coming out because it's seized inside of that little bearing. This will take it out every time. I've had them to where they're like mushroomed flat, and they're like impossible to get out. And then somebody brought this to me and it zipped it right. I mean, it wasn't like immediate, but you can force this down and then you hit the top of this with the hammer and it gets it out every time. Now, if you're looking for a decent race or seal installation set, this is a kit made by Astro. This is all aluminum, definitely a great set, and I've used it several times. As you can see, it's starting to mushroom a little bit, but no worries. This kit has definitely earned its keep. I'm a sucker for anything Knipex, so here's a few Knipex. These are the Cobras. These are the best slip joints on the planet right here. When the Snap-on guy realizes that Snap-on can't beat these and they start carrying these on the truck, that's when you know these are good. I know somebody's gonna hate me for that comment. This is a transmission fluid pump. It comes with a bunch of different, attachments that you can screw onto here, and they'll go into your transmission. The thing I like about this the most is that it's a hand pump as opposed to being hooked up to a compressor. If you're in a garage like mine where I'd have to hook mine up and pump it up for a while to use it, this is super easy. I don't have to do that. I'll just pump this up. This is so much better than like the pump style where you're like pumping forever, and you don't have an air hose like dragging along behind you. So it's really nice that this is kind of like a cordless unit, if you will. I bought this not too long ago to service my GX that I have, and comes in handy all the time, never fails. This is a front wheel drive bearing removal tool, and it's basically a press that you can use for front wheel drive cars. If you have a bearing inside of the knuckle, this keeps you from having to remove the knuckle, bring it to the press it out. This just lets you keep the knuckle in the car, and you just use these different adapters to press the the bearing out of the knuckle with this big forcing screw. That does a couple things. Number one, it saves you from having to remove the knuckle completely, bring it over to the press it out, and then put the knuckle back in. Also, it saves you time from having to do an alignment on the car. Say you have a McPherson style suspension, you remove the knuckle, typically you want to do an alignment afterwards to make sure everything's back where it needs to be. This saves you from having to take it off of the car, so you don't have to do an alignment afterwards. I've used this kit a ton. Really good put together kit, and I've also used it for bushings, really big bushings. As long as the forcing screw can go through the bushing itself, this kit will typically work to remove them. Great kit and a time saver from having to go over the press to press the bearing out. We've got some electrical stuff. We've got a meter here. Now this has been my favorite meter. I do have a Fluke, but I seem to always reach for this one. It's an auto ranging meter, and I bought this like 12 or 15 years ago, and they still make this meter to this day, which means it's a good meter, and they sell a bunch of them. And it's fairly cheap too. So also we have this connector disconnect set. A bunch of companies make this. This one's made by Lyle. Great tool for removing the terminals off of the harness. And then we have these leads. These are just really long leads that are wrapped up into this retractable deal here. These are awesome. They save you a bunch of space in your toolbox so you don't have wires everywhere. Also, this one has 3 leads. This one has 2 leads. It's kind of up to you whether you think you need the 3 lead or 2 lead. I would probably just shoot for the one with 3 leads. They're about the same price. That's what we're going to throw into the pile of stuff that we're accumulating. This is a kit for removing bearings out of like a solid rear axle. So if you want to remove the bearing, you can slide this through the bearing, capture it, and then you use your slide hammer on the back here and just give it a few tugs and it'll come flying out of there. Now, to remove the bearings, you will need a slide hammer to go with those attachments. This is the OTC slide hammer. It's treated me really well over the years, and lifetime warranty. Like I said, when you have things that are like this that are taking a beating, very good idea to get something with a lifetime warranty. To be honest, I've never had to use the lifetime warranty on this because it's just so stout, but nevertheless, it's a good idea to get one. This is a serpentine belt tool. I've had this for years and years, and I've used it a ton. They don't make this exact kit anymore. They actually make the same thing, except this little guy, this is the ratcheting wrench that you hook onto it, actually has a flex head on it now. Great kit. Let's throw it into our pile. Now, this is the OTC ball joint kit. A lot of you guys are familiar with this. This is just the basic one. It just has the clamp and the forcing screw and just a few adapters. This kit, I don't know, kind of means a lot to me because I bought this when I first started wrenching. I just became flat rate. I didn't know a whole lot, but I did my first set of ball joints, and I realized how much they pay for how little work they are. And at the time, the place I was working for provided some tools for you to use, and so I was using this terrible ball joint press. Like, Everybody in the shop had gone through it, and it's just like in terrible shape. The lid was in 2 pieces, just wasn't very good. And so I was like, I'm going to save my money and I'm going to buy my own ball joint kit. And I was so happy when this came, because I don't know, I just felt like now that I have this, I can start making money, even though that seems kind of ridiculous because it was just a ball joint kit. But I was like, at the time, all I had was just a basic set of tools, like, you know, screwdrivers, wrenches and stuff. I didn't have any specialty equipment like this. I don't know. This was just kind of a turning point for me where I just started to invest heavily into tools. This set has held up to a ton of abuse. I've done so many ball joints with it, and I absolutely do not regret this choice. Now, with any basic surface kit like that, you are going to need the adapters to do most kits. This is the Astro kit that I bought. This was quite a bit cheaper than the OTC kit, and I thought, well, these are just the adapters. I bought the expensive OTC tool, and this has actually held up really, really well. It works perfect with the OTC ball joint tool, which I wasn't sure about either. So I'm so glad it worked. It's got just about every adapter you need for just about any car, and it didn't break the bank, so I'm glad I did it. This is a tool made by Bahco. Snap-on sells it on their truck, and they just rebrand it as Blue Point. I love this. This is made in Sweden, and if you haven't used a carbide scraper before, they're just lifesavers. They save so much time removing gaskets. One thing I will mention, you don't want to use this on softer metals like aluminum. It'll high likelihood of gouging the metal. But you know, on harder surfaces, this just removes the gasket like crazy. I do like this style versus some of the other like Lyle carbide scrapers, just because this carbide end is replaceable and it has 3 different ends. So once you feel like this is starting to wear out, you can just remove that screw, turn this little triangle, and you'll have a fresh surface to go off of. And then you can get replacement bits for it as well. So that's the one thing I like about this one versus some of the other ones. Fantastic. Let's add this. Let's throw in a set of Noid lights. If you're not familiar with these, they're just a fancy word for light bulbs. I mean, they're just little light bulbs that mimic the resistance of an injector. Basically what these do is you disconnect the injector if you're having some problems, and you connect this to where the injector was plugged into. And then if these flash, that means you have good control going to your injector. If they're not flashing, that means you may have a problem with the wiring, or the PCM isn't sending control to the actual injector. One thing you do want to be careful of, some cars have a PCM that will shut off an injector if it's getting a dead miss. As soon as you start the car, you need to be watching this, because after 2 or 3 seconds, it can shut this off and it'll stop flashing. And you'll think it's because there's a problem with the circuit integrity or the PCM is bad, but it's actually just turning off the cylinder. So, but these are an awesome tool, and they do come in handy for diagnosing certain problems. This is a harmonic balancer puller. It's a set that's seen very little use. It's fairly inexpensive, and it's pretty complete. Has all the different forcing screws and a lot of the hardware that you would ever use for pulling harmonic balancers and different pulleys and things. Solid kit, and like I said, really decently priced. So let's add this to our pile. So that is $2,800 in tools. Like I said at the beginning of this video, value is something that's kind of subjective. So for me to tell you that the Snap-on wrench set holds more value than another wrench set, it's hard for me to say that. It's just not my place. So you kind of have to make up your own mind, but here's a visual representation of what you can buy with the amount that the Snap-on wrench set costs. So you guys let me know, are you guys going to go with this Snap-on wrench set, or are you going to opt for taking all of this other stuff instead? Let me know in the comments what you guys think. I hope this video doesn't come out like I'm trying to hate on Snap-on. I think Snap-on makes the best tools in the industry for most products. But to be honest, it kind of worries me for Snap-on. They are at the top of the market. They are at the top of quality. They have some of the best customer service, not only in the tool world, but anywhere. They have just a fantastic customer service, so that's going for them. But 25 years ago, the quality between Snap-on and the next leading competitor, it was pretty huge, right? Today, that gap is getting smaller and smaller, but the price gap is still massive. I hope that Snap-on's able to continue to make it worth the cost. So thanks for watching. If you guys have a toolbox you'd like to have featured on this channel, just let me know. You can hit me up on Instagram or send me an email. But yeah, till the next one, we'll see you. Now, if my wife is watching this, babe, it was a really nice wrench set. I got a super good deal on it. And it's a really nice wrench set.